Hey guys, I'm Matt, and wanted to quickly go through my mono black deck. The one thing I'm glad about is not having to have fetch lands or dual lands because I just don't have that kind of money right now. I mean, I know they're not all that expensive, but still, I mean, I just don't have that kind of money. But first, I'm just running 20 swamps. Some people run 19, some people run 21, but I just found that 20 gets the job done. Uh, this is a creature-heavy deck, and mind you that this is a bit over 60 cards. I think it goes into 70s or 80s. Don't judge me. But this is basically based on devotion and combo. So what I start out with is a playset of, no, it's actually not a playset. It's 3 Shadow Alley Denizen. Just basically trying to get a 1-drop in there, trying to just get, because it's also very reliant on Intimidate. So this kind of pumps it up a bit faster. So yeah, just a playset of those. I have 2 Gruul Vampires. As long as an opponent controls 10 or less, has 10 or less life, it gets +2/+1 in Intimidate. And with some of the combos in here and some of the devotion attacks, it should not be hard to get them under 20 life unless they're running like a life gain deck or something. Next, and no, it's actually not a lot. Next is 2 of Tormented Souls. Just basically, just a 1-drop 1/1 that can't block and is unblockable. So that's always nice to have a turn 1 like that. It definitely always gets me off to a good start. And here's a card that I want to get 2 more of because I only have 2 of these right now. It's Festering Newt. And I will put these off to the side because I'll explain all the combos and everything like after I get done with the list. But it's just basically a 1/1, and when it dies, target creature an opponent controls gets +1/-1/-1. That creature gets -4/-4 if I control a creature named Bogberry Witch, which I still need to get because I do not have Bogberry Witch right now. Alright, so there's that. And here's the one that was the last 1-drop, and right now we're getting into the 2-drops. Here's a Sorcerer Marauder, just basically a 2-drop 2/1, which has landfall, and with, like, you're going to be getting lands a good while, and especially if you can get this guy out early, it's going to be very beneficial to you. The next, I have half a playset of Scourge Dag High Priests, which is a 2-drop 1/2, and it has Morbid, and when you tap 2 untapped creatures I control, I can put a 5/5 Black Demon token on the battlefield with flying. But I can only do that if a creature dies this turn, so that's why I have some removal in here. Moving on, I have 2 Disciple of Grizzleband. It's a 2-drop 1/1, which has I pay 1, sacrifice a creature, I gain life equal to that sacrifice creature's toughness. He's also part of the combos in here. I kind of want one other of this creature, Bloodseeker. Just a 1/1 2-drop. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, they lose 1 life. It says you may have that player lose 1 life, but why wouldn't you? Next, I have 2 Blood Artists. Just basically a 2-drop 0/1, which whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, I may have target player lose 1 life. So that's kind of good early damage and good late game damage actually if you manage to keep it out. Okay, next I have a full play set of High Ghoul. just basically a double black 2/1, and it has Intimidate. So if you can get at least one of these out early, it's gonna look pretty good for you. Next is a card that I seriously want a full play set of because I'm only running one right now. Vampire Nighthawk. It's 3 drop, 2 double black, and 1 colorless for a 2/3 flying Death Touch and Lifelink. In my opinion, the only other thing that could make this card like totally OP would be giving it First Strike as well. If this had First Strike, it's a 2/3 flying Death Touch, and then just you gain life off of that, which is the icing on the cake. So yeah, I want to eventually get a full play set of that. Now here is the card that pretty much is one of the life supports of this entire deck, which is a full play set of Mogis Marauder, which basically is a 3 drop 2/2, which when it enters the battlefield, up to X target creatures gain Intimidate and Haste until end of turn, where X is your devotion to black, which if you're getting a good amount of creatures out there, and since this is a mono black deck, there's really no reason that you should not be able to have all of your creatures getting this. So it's a pretty good play if you're able to. And just use one after the other is completely hilarious in games. The next is a 1/of for Phylactery Lich. It's a 3 drop 5/5, which is really rare. But the description explains why that is. As Phylactery Lich enters the battlefield, put a Phylactery counter on an artifact you control. Phylactery Lich is indestructible. When you control no permanents with Phylactery counters on them, sacrifice Phylactery Lich. So basically, if there's very few artifacts in this deck, as it is, so it'll kind of be rare if I draw into them, and considering I only have 1 Phylactery Lich anyway, but you're kind of out of luck if they have like artifact, like destroy target artifact or whatever. So okay, the next is a 1/of Rotted Hulk. This ability has no relevance as far as Intimidate or whatever. Well, I mean, you can give it Intimidate and everything. It's basically a 4 drop 2/5. So basically, it's just a good blocker. I wouldn't really use this as like an attacker. I mean, I could, because I mean it has 5 toughness, so it wouldn't be easily killed. It's definitely on a burn range unless they like burn it twice, which would really just be a waste. So there's that. Next is another 1/of Squelching Leeches, which is a 4 drop, 2 black and 2 colorless, and its power and toughness are equal to the amount of swamps you control. So when you get this guy out, it's going to be at least a 4/4, so it's already out of burn range. So that's pretty good. And also, here's one of my only artifacts. Well, it's an artifact creature, but it's a Juggernaut. Only one of these guys. It's a 4 drop 5/3, and it attacks each turn if able, so that's kind of a downside. But it cannot be blocked by walls, which if you're playing against a deck that has like Wall of Frost, Wall of Swords, or whatever, it won't be able to be blocked by that. So that's great. I just wish the toughness was a bit higher because that's still in burn range. But what are you gonna do? Okay, this next card is another one of the life supports of this entire deck. It is a full play set of Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Not any surprise to any person who plays black, because if you play black, then you know that Grey Merchant is a staple of black, especially in the Devotion. It's pretty much the founder of Devotion, pretty much. Well, Black Devotion anyway. But basically, when it's a 5 drop 2/4, and whenever it enters the battlefield, your devotion players lose life equal to your devotion to black, and you gain that much life. So that is an incredibly important part of this deck. And if you're not able to get that out in the game, at least one, then your chances are kind of looking grim. The next card that I have is 2 Nightmares. 6 drop, flying, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of swamps you control. So again, this is going to be at least a 6/6 when you get it out on the battlefield, so that's good. And it only goes up the more swamps you get. So that's always great. Just a bit expensive though, so it's kind of ish whether you get it on the battlefield or not. Next creature is a Harvester of Souls. It is another 6 drop. It is a 5/5 Death Touch, and whenever another token creature dies, I may draw a card. And so, I mean, I really don't get this out on the battlefield that much, but when you do, it is incredibly great value, since really in black there's really little to no card draw at all. So this is always great to have. I kind of wish I had at least one more of those, but I mean, I don't want too many expensive things as far as creatures. Okay, the next one I have is a 1/of Marsh Pit Titan. It is a 7 drop, but it has Marsh Pit and Titan costs X less to cast, where X is your devotion to black. So by the time you get this, hopefully you can at least get it for a reduced cost, if not just for 1 black. So hopefully you can at least get it on the battlefield, because it is of great value, because it is a 4/5. So again, it's out of burn range. The next card I'm actually kind of surprised I kept in here, and a lot of people probably would think this is like out of flavor for like what I've been trying to go for in this. The last creature is a Pontiff of Blight. It is a 6 drop 2/7, so even if they burned it twice with like lightning bolt or something, it would still be alive. With 1, but it would still be alive. Basically, it is an extort, and if it just had extort on this creature, then I would definitely not have included it. But it has other creatures you control have extort, so you can gain so much life, and your opponents can lose so much life. So to me, that kind of boosted the card's value up a little bit, just enough so I would include it. Alright, so that was all the creatures. Now on to the sorceries, spells, and enchantments. First, I used to have a full play set of this in here, but I took it out in regards to some other cards. I have 2 Duresses. It's just basically, you can do this on turn 1, and if you get this in your hand at turn 1, that is amazing. Basically, it's just a 1 drop, and target opponent reveals his or her hand, and I'm going to choose a non-creature, non-land permanent from it. So just basically a sorcery or instant or whatever, and that could be crucial when you're going up against, say, a mono blue control deck, or any control deck really, because you do not want your opponents to be able to cast a cheap instant or sorcery like just at the beginning of the game and just totally ruin all of your plans, because that would just be horrible. Next slot in the 1 drop is 2 Disentombs. Just basically return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. Just basically, I think this was actually kind of a reprint from Raised Dead. Yeah, it's great value, and this is just this is another way to bring back your Grey Merchant or another Festering Newt to get more combos off of them. So yeah, I mean, if you can play it, then go ahead and play it. Next, I have another card that I'm surprised this is a 1 drop actually. Horrifying Revelation. It's a 1 drop. Target player discards a card, then puts the top card of his or her library into his graveyard. That is a lot for a 1 drop, to be honest, and that is incredibly great value as well. The next, I have 2 Sign in Blood. Everyone knows this card if you play black, or even if you just splash black, really. Because I mean, again, there's really no card draw in black, so you gotta take what you can get. It's a 2-drop. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. But given all the life you're going to be gaining from this deck, you really don't have to worry about it that much. So, yeah. By the way, there's no Thoughtseize in here. I really want to get Thoughtseize. Again, I don't have that kind of money. Thoughtseize is like 20 bucks. So, I really don't have that much. The next card I have is to Read the Bones. It is a 3-drop. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards, and I'll lose 2 life. Again, the loss of life is not relevant at all. But I think it's actually really cool that you get to scry 2 and then draw 2 cards. Because, I mean, that's just great value, especially for like only 3 mana too. Next card I have is Distress. It's pretty much a better version of Duress. It pretty much is what Thoughtseize was. Just for 1 more mana, pretty much, anyway. Target player reveals his or her hand, you choose a non-land card from it, that player discards that card. So, yeah, I mean, I can't remember if Thoughtseize said exile that card or not, but whatever, it gets it out of their hand. Next is a 1-of, and I really wish I had 2 of these. Increasing Ambition. It is a 5-drop, which is kind of high, but the value is basically a Demonic Tutor. Search your library for a card and put that card into your hand. If Increasing Ambition was cast from your graveyard, instead search your library for 2 cards and put those cards into your hand and shuffle your library. The fact that it does not say reveal cards is what makes it definitely worth it. And it has a flashback cost. Its flashback cost is 8, which is really, really high, but in my opinion, it's worth it. I don't know if other people think the same way. The next card I have is, we're getting into kind of removal here, is 2 Pharika's Cure, which is basically a 2-drop. Pharika's Cure deals 2 damage to target creature, and you gain 2 life. So that's kind of removal if your opponents have something like that's only 2 toughness, or 1 toughness. And especially for those mana ramp cards, you don't, I mean, an Elvish Mystic might not look harming by itself, but the stuff that it helps get out, it's pretty scary. Next, I have full playset of Doomblade, for obvious reason. Just a 2-drop, destroy target non-black creature. Again, it helps with combos, and it gets rid of creatures. Okay, and here's another card I wish I had 2 of. Crypt Incursion. It's a 3-drop, and exile all creature cards from a target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. That is insane value for 3 mana. I mean, really. Gain 3 life for each creature that's destroyed that way. Alright. The first enchantment that I have is Waste Not. It's a 2-drop, which I'm really surprised it's a 2-drop. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, add 2 black mana to your mana pool. And finally, when an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. So that is really, really good to have. And next, I have 2 Stab Wound, which can be a win condition if you're like in the last part of the game and they're only allowed a little bit of life. It's a 3-drop enchantment. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2, and at the beginning of the upkeep of that enchanted creature's controller, that player loses 2 life. So if you're at like the end of your game, well, yeah, if you're at the end of the game and they only have a little bit of life left, there's really no reason not to play the Stab Wound on something, even if it's just to kill it. Because that's also another reason I have it on there, is to kill a creature. But it's also great as well if you can get the player to lose 2 life each turn. Next I have a 1-of Palace Siege. Again, it's really hard to get on the battlefield because it is 5 cost, but thankfully there's no other colors, so there's no reason to not have the right mana. It's just getting that much. And as Palace Siege enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. And Khans is at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Dragons is at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. To me, it's no competition. You're going to always choose Dragons. Don't choose Khans because you will eventually run out of creature cards in your graveyard, and you have stuff to bring stuff back from your graveyard anyway. You're black. You can raise stuff from the dead in this color. So no reason to choose Khans at all. The next one I have, which is another one of my combos, is Bubbling Cauldron. It's a 2-drop artifact, which pay 1 and tap, sacrifice a creature, you gain 4 life. And tap and sacrifice a creature named Festering Newt. Each opponent loses 4 life, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So basically this is another Grey Merchant almost, except with the Festering Newt and Bubbling Cauldron, so that's automatic value right there. Alright, another one, I'm still debating whether to keep this or not, because, I mean, it's okay, but, especially with what the deck's doing, but I'm not sure. One of the Staff of Death Magus. It's a 3-drop artifact. Whenever you cast a black spell or a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Which, I mean, it's a steady life gainer, but considering that you aren't ever sure if you're going to draw into it, I don't know. And of course, finally, this is the last card of the deck. It is, of course, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by this, the Whip of Erebos. It is a 4-drop legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures I control have lifelink, and you pay 4 to tap it, return target creature card from your graveyard to your battlefield. It gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So basically, yeah, it's pretty straightforward what the deck's supposed to be doing. Basically, just trying to get your opponents to 0 as quick as you can. And I mean, with a lot of this stuff, it should be really, really easy, especially with all the Intimidate that you have. So really, there's no, I mean, I've yet to test the new form of this out because I've made all these additions to it ever since I've played last with people, but I mean, I've play tested it a lot and it seems to work well, so I'm hoping that it performs well. Now, to get to the combo pieces, let me just make sure I got everything out of here. And I think I have. Just making sure. Okay. Yeah, I got everything. Alright, so. Okay, stay with me here. What you're going to try to do is, and this is with a perfect opening hand. This might have to go on a little bit more if you don't have a perfect opening hand. But you're going to try, at least try, to get a Festering Newt out on turn 1, if you can. Then, get the Bubbling Cauldron out on turn 2. Do not set off the Bubbling Cauldron Festering Newt combo at this stage. You are going to try to also get the Disciple of Gristleband out. Then, only then, pay 1, sacrifice Festering Newt, but also pay the 1 on Disciple and gain 1 life off of Festering Newt. And then gain all the rest of the life off the Bubbling Cauldron combo. That will automatically say you're facing off against 2 other people. That turn alone, you will have gained 9 life already at like turn 3 or 4. So, and your opponents will also be at a disadvantage because they'll lose 4 life each. The reason why Doomblade was so important, and other forms of removal was so important, was to be able to activate Scourge-Stag High Priest, because it says activate this ability only if a creature died this turn. So once you Doomblade something, or destroy or kill any creature, even if it's just by attacking, you can tap 2 untapped creatures that you have, and then put a 5/5 demon token with flying onto the battlefield. That is serious value, and a 5/5 flying for cheap. Very, very cheap. Also, the reason that you include Duress and Distress for Waste Not. Now, since with Duress's case anyway, you will always be making them discard a non-creature, non-land. So, I mean, just with that you can draw a card for 1 mana. But with Distress, you can make them discard a non-land card from it. So that could either just be a creature or a non-creature, non-land card. So you could either draw a card or you'll be ending up with a 2/2 black zombie token. Either way, you're fine. Like, and that is great. And also another thing I forgot to mention with the Fester New Belvin Cauldron combo. Whip of Erebos, Distant Tomb. 2 ways to bring Festering Newts back. Mind you, you would want to do the Distant Tomb Grave Dig first, if you want to get full value out of the Newts. Because with Whip of Erebos, if you bring them back from the graveyard at that point, you'll have to exile them afterwards. And there's no unexiling cards in this deck. So what you could do is, you play the Festering Newt, of course, get it sacrificed, bring it back with Distant Tomb, get it sacrificed, bring it back with Whip of Erebos, and then get it sacrificed. That is serious value out of there, because that will just devastate the whole entire game if there's no answers for it. Now that's if there's no answers for it. If you're playing against a blue deck, yeah, you better expect answers. But other than that, at least in my opinion, it's a solid deck. It works for me. Others it might not. There might be some things I should have included, some things I shouldn't have included. But at least for me, this works. And it's possible for it to work, as long as you know like what the combos are and what you can do with them. So yeah, that's basically my mono black deck. If y'all have any questions or comments or constructive criticism, I'll be happy to hear it. Just write me a comment in there in the comment section below, and I will see you guys later.